And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore, where we never sit out. We your host, MD and CD. What is going on? What is going on? We're talking bowl games. Yes, sir. This is a fantastic, fantastic part of the year. It's fantastic.
I agree. Do not let people tell you that bowl games don't matter. We are a part of the crowd that understands that bowl games are awesome. We love watching them. We love talking about them. Obviously, if you follow recruiting, that's a big deal too now more than ever because of all the opt outs and the transfer portals. It's crazy going on.
Early
Who's
signing
playing
day
where? Who's playing?
next Wednesday.
Yeah. Ho, 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 ho.
Big stuff coming there. But yeah, if you guys have been following us around, you've been hearing us cover some transfer portal names, a lot of those coaching hires. Today you get a breather from that, and today you get bowl games. We're gonna be covering up
There's actual
every,
football going on.
yeah, we're gonna be covering every single game from Ohio, Georgia Southern, all the way to UTSA Marshall, and then next time, this time next week, we will be talking about starting off with Syracuse USF. But that's not today.
Nope.
That is not today. So Uh, also, big announcement. Of course, if you've been following along, you've heard this spiel several times, but in the description below, we have the Redshirt Sophomore College Football Bowl Pool. The winners get a chance to be on the show. Those guys will be decided, but you're only qualified if you're subscribed to the YouTube, right? So even if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you go over to YouTube, the Redshirt Sophomore, boom, hit subscribe. Boom, like the video, like the content, like the video. And if you're on Spotify listening to this, we thank you so much for listening as well. And if you're on YouTube and you like driving in the car, uh, look, Spotify on your way to work's not too bad either. So make sure you leave us a 5-star rating there and follow us on that. Of course, the social media is the Twitter at the Redshirt Soft, and you can email us at the redshirtsophomore@gmail.com for any questions or concerns. CD, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's just get into it. How about Georgia Southern versus the Ohio Bobcats? Little bit of an interesting roster shakeup for Ohio going in this game. I would assume that Ohio would be favored in this game, if not for Curtis Rourke, CJ Harris, of course, being hurt earlier this year. No Miles Cross. Bangura's, is he out for this game as well?
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, all studs in that offensive side of the ball. Now, the bread and butter of this Ohio team has been the defense. It has been the defense, certainly. But Georgia Southern, when you look over there, you don't, not a whole lot of significant transfers. What, maybe Jalen Denton, but like they haven't had him for a while. So the line's at 3.5. Now, if you follow us, you watch us pretty often, right? We pick these games and we pick the spread and we pick just who's going to win straight up. So, CD, what do you got for us?
Well, you mentioned all the opt outs or transfers or whatever you want to call them nowadays, but Georgia Southern has just been limping to the finish line. I mean, it was a brutal November and end of October for them. They started out like 6-2 and had a real chance to compete for a Sun Belt title right in the East Division, and with James Madison not being eligible, and they ended up losing out and ended up last in the Sun Belt East. Luckily, still qualify for a bowl. So that's the only thing that worries me. On the surface, when I looked at this game, I was like, oh, when I saw the matchup pairing, I was like, oh, Ohio's really good defense, right? I like the way that they're coached very, very well. But all the opt outs, just it's so brutal. It's so brutal for Ohio. There's a reason the line moved, right, to -3.5 Georgia Southern now. I'm gonna take Georgia Southern -3.5. I hope Davis Brin can get it right the whole month. Some people is like, okay, who shows up for a bowl game? If you're Clay Helton and you limp to a finish line, like you have to get your boys ready to go and win a bowl game because like at a place like Georgia Southern and Ohio for that matter, like winning bowl games matters, right? So like, yes, you finished off a season like disappointing, right? But you can still win a bowl game and maybe inspire some confidence in the offseason, which is why I think I'm going to take Georgia Southern to win and then obviously to cover.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Ohio, easily a top 15 pass defense, right? If you're gonna get Ohio, it's probably on the ground, but not even. Like they're so stout that up front there. I really like what they got going on. The offense, even with Curtis Rourke and Saya Bangura, hasn't really been all that good. And of course, CJ Harris going out. You got Parker Navarro taking the reins over there for the Bobcats. I haven't really seen him play, so I have no idea what to expect there. I do know what I'm getting from Davis Brin. The problem is when he has run into really good pass defenses, he has those games where he throws multiple interceptions. And I don't love that. Uh, but the uncertainty with Parker Navarro at quarterback, no Sam Bangura, no Miles Cross. Ah, I like I like the Sun Belt. That's kind of what I'm going with right now. I'll ride with you, Georgia Southern to win, but I think this is a low scoring game. I'll take Ohio plus 3.5. Let's middle that. How about that? Let's middle it. Give me Ohio plus three and a
Over.
half and give me Georgia Southern to win. That's a tough middle right there, but if you're anticipating a low total game, it's possible, man. Last second field goal for Georgia Southern, maybe. Little 10-13 game. Davis Brin throws 4 interceptions. They find a way to win that. I don't know, man. Uh, I don't know. It does feel like the roster situation, the locker room situation with Ohio is a little bit weird right now because there is so much turnover there. That's why it feels weird to take them plus 3.5. But at the same time, I don't know if I trust Davis Brin against a really, really good defense because he has been known to just let it fall apart. So I'm all right with this.
Yep.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, you mentioned going to the third string quarterback, Park Navarro. And now, all due respect to him, and I hope he goes and balls out for sure. Love that the senior gets an opportunity to play in a game like this. But we saw CJ Harris, right, the backup, going against San Diego State, and it was not pretty at all in week one. It was actually awful. Okay, and so this guy was backing
And
him
San
up. So
Diego
like,
State is not good. They were
no,
terrible
no.
this year.
At the time, we're like, okay, Ohio went out to the West Coast and competed with them. No, CJ Harris was 18 of 41, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Now the thing is here, like talk about Pat, like CJ Harris, if Parker Navarro's throwing the ball 41 times, then I feel pretty good about Georgia Southern's chances. I have to believe in Tim Albin's ability to scheme up something in the next couple, or his staff to scheme something in the 3 weeks they had in between their games there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But
It's
yeah,
it's tough. It's bowl games. You really like don't know. We're trying to give you good analysis here, but same time, like who's gonna show up, who doesn't show up. I think both teams gonna show up. I think Georgia Southern's got a better quarterback. I think they're playing for a little bit more. Although Tim Albin, in the bowl game last year, he had to play CJ Harris, right? And they got a win there too. So it's gonna be awesome.
that
Tim
look
Albin's, by the way.
tune. Yeah, yeah. Tune into
Tim
the
Albin,
Myrtle
by the
Beach
way.
Bowl.
Yeah, you gotta. You always do. It's first bowl game of the year, okay? Like you have to watch that. 10 a.m. Central Time. That's first of all, that in itself is a blessing. Okay, 1 hour earlier than normal. But also, Tim Albin he's a good coach, man. He's a good coach there for Ohio. I'm surprised he's not getting more looks elsewhere. His name's not thrown around the coaching carousel a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but no, I agree with you there. I agree with you there. But yeah, go fighting Georgia Southern. What are they? The Golden Eagles. Just win, but don't cover. All right, how about that? Up next, let's talk about the New Orleans Bowl. And who else but Jacksonville State Gamecocks will be playing this ball game? A team that was not eligible for postseason play, but not enough 6-6 teams allows for a team like Jacksonville State, who finished the year what, a 10-2, 9-3, whatever their record
Eight
was.
and the 8-4.
Oh, 8-4. Well, I guess they did lose
They
Liberty
lost
Late and
South Carolina and New Mexico
South
State at
Carolina
the
and New
end there.
Mexico State. Yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? The Louisiana Raging Cajuns coming in with not their starting quarterback, not their second string quarterback, but Chandler Fields coming in, suiting up, strapping up once again for the Raging Cajuns, who honestly, I mean, average year for those guys. I mean, it's tough. Post Billy Napier era. Last year was a disaster for them, but they came back this year and they found their way in a bowl game. So, and of course, it's going to be in New Orleans. So a little closer to home for those guys, Of course, Jacksonville State's not super far away because Jacksonville State's located in Jacksonville, Alabama, I believe. So, uh, yeah, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it'll be interesting here. I think you kind of, to me, I'm not sure what I'm gonna get from Louisiana in terms of a vibes feel. I mean, their expectation the past 5 years has been to compete in the Sun Belt Conference, and you mentioned last year was not great. First year under Michael Desamoy. You tell me how to pronounce that there, Louisiana fans. But this year, like it looked like you were gonna struggle your way to a bowl game. After you're maybe not the hottest start, and you made it there. I guess it's good. A big win over UL Monroe, who is not very good, but you get it done
They're pretty
nonetheless.
terrible, but a little rival.
Yeah,
Rivalry games are tough. Just ask Bama fans in the Iron Bowl.
yeah, you get done. Your quarterback playing better, and you played some close games down the stretch there against some better teams than you maybe. But here we are in a bowl game. Anything can happen. I do feel Jacksonville State here. I do like their talent actually. I think Rich Rod, obviously, not only his talent he's brought in there, but also the scheme is pretty awesome and exciting football. I think they won it pretty badly this game, and I don't doubt Louisiana's motivation as well. But I do think Jacksonville State is going to show up big time here and get a win. Zion Webb, maybe in his last game, I believe he's out of eligibility if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he has one more year. Who knows with
Who knows with these guys
college
anymore?
rules.
Everyone has one more year of eligibility.
I'm pretty sure this is his sixth year, so I would assume he's done. But regardless, he last time he's very electrifying, for USA fans to watch week in, week out. So we'll see what happens there. In terms of opt outs, let's see. Not a ton either way. I mean, you got the left tackle on Louisiana.
That's what
He's
I'm
got an
saying.
injury, which is tough, but maybe get some help there with Landon Burton coming back. And no one really else that makes a huge impact. Your linebacker's gone for Louisiana, but those guys are pretty replaceable
Yeah,
regardless.
this is one of those bowl games where you're gonna. I think you're gonna get both teams full throttle. Jacksonville State looking to prove a point in their first bowl game ever, and you got Louisiana playing in New Orleans. With the third string quarterback, but Chandler Fields himself has been a kind of a dog. Like if you compare his stats, right, next to Ben Woolridge and Crease, they're very similar, if not better. He's not as explosive of a runner as as pictured on screen, the number two over there for Louisiana. But uh, look, he's got a pretty decent arm. I mean, he looked comfortable back there those last couple of games. He went over 200 yards in all of them. I just I like it a lot. I'm gonna take Louisiana plus the 3, and I'm gonna also take Louisiana to win straight up. I think they get it done. I haven't been a Jacksonville State hater at all this year, but I just think some of these CUSA teams that are playing in the bowl games are going to get a little wake up call. And I think playing in the Sun Belt means something this year. I really think it does. You have 12 bowl teams in the Sun Belt. And these are Sun Belt teams that had decent out of conference games, and won some of those. So give me the Louisiana Raging Cajuns in New Orleans.
I'm actually gonna fade you here. I got Jacksonville State. Even though Rich Rod is not great in bowl games historically, I still
Which
think
matters.
yeah, because it tells you where the staff's feeling is. Like, especially right now, more than ever, you have to you cannot be in four places all at once. You have to be on the road recruiting, transfer portal, recruiting guys to stay home, evaluating, coaching, rehab. Like it is a crazy month leading up to this until early signing day for these coaches. And obviously, this game will take place Saturday. It will be before early signing day, so you got to split your time somehow. But I do think Rich Rod, I think he gets it done here. I think I was impressed with the way Jacksonville State finished the year. I thought they started playing their best games early in the year. They were winning games they should not have won, right? They were winning ugly. Like it was super unimpressive. Anytime they played resemblance of a good opponent, they just kind of got crushed. Now in November, I thought they played really, really well. They had adjusted to FBS competition, got better and better and better. And yeah, I think there's a reason why on both sides you don't see many opt outs. Um, but I think both these teams really want to win this game, and I'm gonna go Jacksonville State. I'll take them to
I
cover
mean,
as well.
Desser Mo, he's look, he's a raging Cajun through and through, right? Former quarterback for them. I think he really wants to win this game. I think he does. I think he does. Now, Jacksonville State, you know these players are going to be for Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks. They're going to get up for this game as well. But I think these teams are both going to be motivated. When I look at it, I just even the team that got Chandler Fields playing well. I don't trust the quarterbacks at Jacksonville State. I know Zion Webb is a really good athlete. And when Logan Smothers gets in the game, I swear it makes me nervous so much. Even though he came back and won that game for them against Sam Houston State, that was absurd. But
it's incredible.
yeah, I mean, look, we're fading each other. This is bowl season. Like, it's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get crazy.
I do want to mention real quick about Louisiana's history in bowl games. Right since 2013, when they've been playing pretty well in the Sun Belt, they're 8-3. Right, like bowl games matter to this program, to this fan base, and I think Desirmo like understands that. Obviously, you mentioned that he knows he's a raging Cajun through and through. You mentioned, so we'll see. We'll see. This is one game I'm actually pretty darn excited because I saw Louisiana in person, and Zion Chris was kind of a baller. Right, they came up to Minnesota, and there were some athletes on that field for Louisiana, but I'm gonna go Jacksonville State.
Let's go to the Orlando, the Cure Bowl. Come on, App State -6.5 is favored against your MAC champions, Miami of Ohio, the Redhawks. Uh, Mountaineers are favored by 6.5. Now, is that just the difference between playing the Sun Belt and the MAC? Now also one thing to note, Avian Smith is in the transfer portal. I believe he's not playing for Miami of Ohio. For them, it's going to be Henry Hessen. I don't think he's started the game. I don't think he's had like 5 pass attempts in his entire career there. We'll see. But look, if you're going to sit here and tell me that Avian Smith was dialing it up in the pass game, all right, you're lying to yourself. All right. This is a team that likes to run the ball. App State doesn't like it very much when other teams run the ball on them. They don't. Also, Miami of Ohio's defense has been pretty electric, and I don't see a ton of important opt-outs on the defense side of the ball, unless you can correct me there.
Nope.
So, I mean, I don't know. App State, a slew of transfer portal losses there. Bucky Williams, your starting guard. You got Nate Noel, one of their running backs there. Of course, Aguilar is going to get this offense going, right? They could score points, right? I think they'll move the ball effectively, but who knows? I mean, they got some other opt-outs too. I mean, right? I mean, not so many important ones, but other than I think Bucky Williams and Nate Noel are probably the 2 big ones, but uh, I don't know because also too, Miami of Ohio, they get to the quarterback pretty well. App State protects the quarterback pretty well, and Aguilar is also a little mobile in the pocket too. He gets out of there. 35th in sacks allowed. This App State team, which is pretty solid if you're top 40 in that category. I think they gave up less than 35 sacks on the year, which is pretty solid. So something to look out for as well. If Miami can't get to the quarterback, are they going to be able to match up with these athletes in space? I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I think I loved the way Miami finished the year, right? Like right, Gabbert got hurt against Toledo, and they just said, screw him. Avion Smith was not very good. And that's the thing with quarterbacks is we talked about it with Ohio and the Bobcats there. They're down in their third string quarterback. Like, how much does that actually make a difference? Right? If you want to talk about like if you're taking it, if you don't want to take him in a bet because you're worried if he gets hurt, then there's nobody else there. At the same time, like Miami, Ohio is kind of built to win regardless who's at quarterback, right? So that's why it doesn't startle me as much. I do think what matters more for App State is there's what 10 or so guys in the portal. Right? Like that hurts the depth of a program, especially at App State, not only during the game, but also in practice. Right? Like how can you
Yes.
practice without and I remember the days of, Pee Wee football where everyone a couple guys were sick or whatever, a flu went through it, and then like half the team's out and you can't practice, right? Like that's what it is in some of these circumstances, which is tough. And I don't know. I'm gonna go Mile High. It's kind of a gut feeling, I guess. Even though they're 6.5 dogs, I'll take them. Obviously, I'll take the points and I'll take them to win it for sure as well. I think they're just gonna shut them down and play defense and kind of call it a day, I guess, for against App State.
Yeah, I for sure think 6.5 is way too many points. Way too many points. Now, are talking about so many points where like they should be winning straight up? I don't know. I'm gonna ride with you though. I'm gonna take Miami Ohio plus 6.5, and I'm gonna take them to win straight up. Because again, they're not. It doesn't matter what quarterback you throw back there, right? If Amos gets his and he puts 120 yards on the ground and Ohio scores 24 points, 21 points, they could win that game straight up. Aguilar's offense, he's had a helmet before, but we saw what Troy kind of did to them in the second half there. That's just good coaching. Shut him down completely. And I don't know, Chuck Martin and his boys there, he's got them going. So I like that pick from you. I'm a ride with you right there.
Can I ask you real quick? And does it worry you that so App State recently, right in November and in late October, like when they started getting going, when they were playing teams that they were comparables, like talent wise, they kind of marched like they were playing really good. They marched like Aguilar was balling out, Noel was balling out. I know Noel's gone, obviously, but does that worry that like this could kind of turn out into like a blowout for App State if they get humming offensively and Miami just does not have the firepower to catch up in a game like this?
Yeah, Miami is going to have to start hot. But both these teams, I think their goal is to come out with a nice script and score points immediately, right? Because then whoever scores points immediately is going to force the other team to not play their game, right? In App State's case, I guess they can chuck the ball around the yard. So if they're down, right, they can still play at a level where they can, you know, uh, zip the ball across the field. But if Ohio goes down, like you said, I don't know what they're gonna do. What they gotta do is the coaching staff just not panic, right? Say you're down 14-3 at half. That does not mean you abandon the run game. It just means you start playing the field position game, you know, and put your quarterback in his position to make successful throws, not bombs. Just get first downs. Just get first downs.
The under at 43.5 is pretty interesting there. What's about
M-
24-17 is what they're kind of predicting it to be around
Miami's
there.
Miami's unders, I think, are like 10-2 on the year, or like 9 and or I guess they've played 13 games. They're like 11-3 or something. They're crazy. Them and the Ohio Bobcats have been under wagons. So it's not the craziest thing to take the under here. I do think it's because you have that third string quarterback. Like all of a sudden, if he can't take care of the football
Yep.
and App State
Yep.
starts putting up points that way, then that's when the over hits in a hurry. And then that's how App State finds a way to cover. You start making good old Henry start uh, tossing the ball to your boys. So, but I'm excited for this game. I'm excited. The MAC champions, I think, deserve to play in a better bowl game. But I think, I mean, the Mountaineers were one game away from winning the Sun Belt. So this is gonna be really good. This is a very like. Tell you.
This is a respectable game. I think like this matchup here. Obviously it sucks. It's on December 16th, but like this, at least you get to go home for Christmas, you know. But like these two teams are both very deserving of a good bowl game, and I hope it's treated as such because like these two teams had a hell of a season, right? From what it could have been, right? App State could have folded when they didn't start off great, and then Ohio loses their quarterback, and could have folded, gave up against Toledo in the round 2 rematch, and they ended up winning a MAC championship, which was super awesome.
Let's get into the New Mexico Bowl. And who else would be in the New Mexico Bowl other than New Mexico State? They're squaring like off against Fresno State. Fresno State without their head coach Jeff Tedford stepping down for health reasons. That is unfortunate. Lee Marks taking up the interim head coach duties there. In terms of transfer portal and opt-outs for Fresno State, I don't think there's a lot of them. You got Logan Fife, right, which is just depth at quarterback. But Mikey Keene, I believe, is there, and he's going to be buzzing at quarterback. Is there anything else Fresno State-wise, opt-out wise, that I should be aware of? Important ones. Really. Like I don't think there's a ton of important ones, which is surprising because Jeff Tedford steps down. You'd think that a bunch of guys would go in the portal, and you know what, they're not. So I don't know. But New Mexico State, on the other hand, a couple wide receiver transfers. Trent Hudson, who was a big player for them. Jordan Parker, who was probably number 5, number 6 guy for them. Was pretty solid. I think he had over like 250 yards. And but these are two teams that are trending in the opposite direction right now. Right? New Mexico State, who I thought played a good game against Liberty offensively, right? Diego Pavia absolutely popped off. Just Liberty, you just can't. They're just way more talented, right? And it was tough to stop them, of course. That's just a good football team over there for Liberty. But Fresno State has just as much talent, if not more talent, than that Liberty football team has. So it's crazy to think that Fresno State are dogs in this game. Now, they some Bulldogs, but they're underdogs in this game, catching 3.5 points. Are you leaning in a direction for this game?
It's so hard. I'm going to go New Mexico State, but I have very little confidence on it. And you'll see in our bowl pool, I do not have any points on them. The reason why I do lean towards them is because Diego Pavia is expected to play, even after getting hurt against Liberty. Sounds like he's gonna play, but it's tough. You mentioned the directions of both these football programs, right? New Mexico State obviously finished the year pretty darn strong, all things considered, right? They beat Auburn, lost to a really good team in Liberty, and Fresno State kind of choked away an opportunity in the Mountain West for sure. They lost 3 straight, including one to New Mexico, who needed to find a new coach, and San Diego State too, as well, who was with an interim coach. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for Fresno State. I think, and then Tedford, has to step away due to health issues. Hopefully he's doing all right, for sure. But yeah, I just think something's off this year with Fresno State. I don't know if the bowl game practice is going to be able to fix that. That's where I'm going to go with New Mexico State. Although Jeff Tedford, right, I know he's not going to be coaching, but he has been kind of a wagon in bowl games. He's 4-0.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah, he is.
Jerry Kill's not very great in bowl games, although they did win last year. They did win a game last year against Bowling Green in the Quick Lane Bowl. But, yeah. No, what do you got?
I am going to go ahead and take the Bulldogs. Here's why. Honestly, like in terms of like opt-outs and stuff, the coaching shift is a big deal for Jeff Tedford's Fresno State Bulldogs, right? That's a big deal. In New Mexico, these teams seem like they're two teams trending in the opposite direction, but matchup wise, like Fresno State through the air is not bad. right? They're better in the air than they are on the ground. You know, Jared's had his time on the ground. He's done well in some games when it's mattered. But really, like if Mikey Keene is dialed in and that pass game is humming like it can, like I don't know that there's much that New Mexico State can do to stop it. The reason why I think they did so well against Auburn is Auburn cannot throw the ball at all, right? And that is New Mexico State's absolute kryptonite defensively. Like they have not been able to cover guys. Plus, uh, Fresno State is just more talented. Like I said, like they're just a more talented team. And I think New Mexico State has struggled in some games this year where the talent gap is that large. Um, aka the Liberty game. I compare Fresno State. I think it talent wise, the gap is there. I think Liberty's a better team than New Fresno State. You know, just the way that they're playing, the way that they've been coached this year. But yeah, I'll take Fresno State plus 3.5, and I'll take them to win straight up as well. Not a whole lot of confidence points going on there, uh, in the Redshirt Sophomore College Football Bowl pool. For me personally, I'm sure there's other people that feel differently, but I like Mikey Keene as a quarterback, and I always have. And I think Logan Fife, you know, leaving, I think he's a good quarterback too. I think he can find his place somewhere else. Maybe it's Power Five, maybe it's not. Uh, yeah, give me the Bulldogs. Give me the Bulldogs, even though it's in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. But it's not that far of a trip for Fresno either, so it's not too big of a deal, I think. So
That's a good point. Eric Brooks and Jalen Moss do kind of scare me if I'm New Mexico State. I mentioned I don't have a ton of confidence in this game either way. Um, you might like could be tough if Keene gets hot, and when he's hot, he is electric. Right, he is really fun. You mentioned all the opt outs or the wide receivers specifically for New Mexico State. Other than depth, and then Trent Hudson, who's kind of a baller and 10 touchdown guy. Like obviously relied on him a lot this year. They have a good amount of depth offensively at the wide receiver position, which is kind of interesting for Jerry Kill there. And Diego Pavila, he just feels like a guy that can just elevate, players, on a wide receiver position. I don't know why, but that's just my gut feel on him. And if he's coming back to gut out after an injury, especially a shoulder injury, to play in this bowl game, this tells me how much this means for the staff. And to get a win over you mentioned a pretty talented team in the Mountain West, very well respected team, would do wonders for him there in the transfer portal and recruiting, coaching, and everything, and booster donations, especially if it's going to be in Albuquerque, right? A lot of home people going, or fans being able to make that little trip up there for New Mexico State.
let's go to LA. And not just because we're talking about UCLA, I'm talking about the LA Bowl, Boise State versus UCLA. Uh, both teams got quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Boise State, Taylon Green in the transfer portal, commits to go to Arkansas next year to work with Bobby Petrino over there. Dante Moore still shopping around, but I know Ethan Garbers got hurt, but he'll be back, right? He's got to be back.
He always does.
Come on. So, for UCLA, no law to, of course. I mean, I respect that decision. Opt out. Guy's going to be a top 20 draft pick easily. But the thing with UCLA is that they're also missing a couple key guys in the secondary. John Humphrey, uh, Darren Kirkwood, right? Jalen Davies will be taking his spot there, likely. I still think he's a good player. Those are big losses in the secondary, as the secondary was already probably the weak spot on this UCLA Bruins defense. But Boise State, no Taylon Green, no Mad Max. They're coming in with a third string quarterback. Can they take advantage of UCLA's secondary? Or are they going to be able to run the ball with no Latu there in the front seven?
I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
I don't know. I mean, Spencer Danielson there, he gets hired as full-time head coach from his interim role. He was originally the defensive coordinator, which is crazy because about 7-8 weeks ago, Boise State fans were calling for Spencer Danielson to get fired as a defensive coordinator. And here he is. It's going to be the next Broncos head coach. So what are the vibes here? UCLA is favored by 4 points right now Do you have a lean in any direction? And I know these games, we love these games because these games are super hard to pick, particularly ATS. What are your thoughts, and who are you picking?
I think without Taylor Green and obviously Max Madison.
And no Hank Bachmeier, by the way, because he transferred to Louisiana Tech last year.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So you're down
I
to
mean,
CJ Taylor, probably the true freshman. And I hope he balls out for his sake, but at the same time, like other than Latu, there are still a lot of good players there on that defense. You do you do lose DeAnton Lynn, right, to took the coordinator job at USC,
that's
which is
big.
a tough
That is
loss for
big.
them for sure. But at the same time, like if you're a player on UCLA, you better be getting ready to play because whoever that new coach is that's coming in is you're gonna want to put on some good film for him to watch. If UCLA shows up, like they're gonna win and they'll win pretty easily. I assume by more than a touchdown. But it's also like, are they gonna show up? How bad does Boise State want this too? Right. And then
Yeah.
also we mentioned it earlier with quarterbacks and Miami, Ohio with under their third string quarterback. Here's another team down to the third string quarterback. How quarterback reliant are they? Now I do think Taylor Green is a little bit more special because of his athleticism in the running game. He started finding a little bit more efficient throwing the football. And the reason why he's ending up in Power Five because he's a baller, physically gifted specimen, right? And he would put an extreme headache on UCLA for sure. But the way they run their offense and play defense, they've been playing better defense. Janty and Holani, you just kind of get the ball to them and they let do their thing. You've been without McAllister for a while now. You know how to adapt without him.
You've won every
I
game
just
without him.
yeah, which is interesting there. I have to take UCLA and I'll take the points, but I don't feel good about it because I have no idea if they're actually going to show up. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. It's also like Chip Kelly had a weird off season where like, is he gonna get fired? Is he not gonna get fired? Okay, he's back.
Yeah.
So now, if you're Chip Kelly, yes, you need to work on recruiting and transfer portal. Had a lot of guys transfer out. Not a ton of big time losses, maybe in the secondary, right? And obviously Dante Moore is a notable guy, but I think Garber's better quarterback right now than Dante Moore is. Um, but you kind of have to win this football game. You can't lose it. I don't know if you have to win it. Like no one's gonna care if you win it, but you can't lose it. You know, if you're Chip Kelly. So that's how I'm gonna go UCLA.
Yeah. I do want to make a correction. Devin Kirkwood, I believe, is playing in this game. He's actually probably going to be filling in where John Humphrey would have been, if I had to guess, him and Jalen Davies. But I'm right there with you. Give me UCLA -4. It's a more talented team. Tell me true freshman Tiller's going to be able to do anything against his front seven. Ah, I don't know, man. And look, UCLA is one of the best run defenses in the country. Is that in large part due to Latu? Yes, but like Latu isn't. He's an elite talent, right? And he makes lots of plays, but he isn't like an absolute massive humanity, right? Like eating up blocks, right? He just is everywhere and he makes those plays. He was like the third leading tackler on the team. He was a huge part of that run game, but I think UCLA can operate in the run game without him. Ashton Janty obviously is going to be important in this game for Boise State, and so is George Alani. But I think UCLA can find a way to just do enough, do enough. So that's gonna be the theme. Yes, UCLA took a abysmal loss to California, but I also think that California team is somehow actually probably better defensively than this Boise State defense. Uh, and they played really well that game. They got some turnovers. Garbers gets hurt. They also ran the ball really well. I mean, I don't know. It was a weird game late at night. If you were catching that game, probably weekend. I'm feeling UCLA. Now, if Boise State wins this game, that is another huge credit to Spencer Danielson, which again, I just find so wild. An interim coach just goes in, a coach is fired, not for performance. Well, no, sorry, not for, he got fired for performance. You bring in an interim who just promoted your DC, whatever. Let's get to the end of the season before we can figure out this hire. Wins out, wins the Mountain West Championship, and here they are in the LA Bowl. If they win this with their third string quarterback, I would be severely impressed. And the outlook I know you lose Gallon Bear out in the recruiting landscape there, but it's got to be feeling good about Boise State's future if that's the case.
Yeah, real quick about CJ Taylor though. He is from LA. Like he's about 35 miles east of LA. Kind of a homecoming for him. Do we see a story? College football is all about, encrazy Cinderella stories and just feel good stories, whatnot. Do we see it happen here with him? I don't know.
He's
I don't
probably he's probably a USC fan, and he has that hate for the
know.
for the gold and blue.
Well, the team overlooked them, but they they also signed Dante Moore. So
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of the state of California, let's go to the Independence Bowl. Let's go to California versus Texas Tech. California catching 2.5. Uh, I think this is a pretty interesting game. Why is that? For Texas Tech, you're losing a couple receivers to the transfer portal. You're not gonna
time
have.
out, time out, time out. When you say a couple receivers, we're talking about their two best receivers, Miles Price and Jaron Bradley. In my opinion, those guys are really, really good players.
Yeah, but they've had production from elsewhere. But we know that that's not the identity of the team. And the reason why I said a couple of receivers is because the most important one, the guy did not declare for the NFL draft. He will be back for the 2024 season, and his name is Taj Brooks. And we've been telling since the beginning of the season to start feeding him the rock, and they have been doing that. And I think California can get caught in run game like that. So, uh, but I would actually correction. I'll say California's run defense is actually way better than their pass defense. I believe they're top 5 in the country. Sorry, bottom 5 in the country in pass defense, and they're actually top 50 in run defense in terms of yards per attempt. So that is an
But
interesting
also like
matchup.
they're missing their top two linebackers. Caleb Elam
Yes,
Gore is in the portal, right? That's a big one there. And then Jackson Sermon, who is heart and soul of that team. He's obviously been lost since week 6, but regardless, like that doesn't help you against Taj Brooks.
exactly. So and the reason we bring this up, and look, I can give you stats all day for all season and whatnot, but like some of these teams are just different teams in bowl games. Different rosters, different coaches, people moving around. Uh, and in California's room, you're looking at Francisco Mendoza, Fernando Mendoza. Sorry, that's my bad. He already had to earn his spot for that quarterback position. Played very, very well this year. Very young player. But then what does Cal do? What does that coaching staff do? What does Justin Wilcox do? They go get another quarterback in the transfer portal, highly sought after Chandler Rogers from North Texas. Obviously, he won't be playing this game, but is that an added chip on the soldier or the shoulder for Mendoza there? It just might be. It just might
I,
be.
he's playing for his job. Like this is he gets the first crack at the audition. Obviously, you've been auditioning all season long, and you helped them get to a bowl game by beating UCLA, right? A really good defense, and you kind of torched them.
They've won their last 3 games,
It just ruined our under on California, but we'll talk. That's for
and,
another day.
and they ruined your Washington State over as well.
Yep.
Well, there were a lot of things that ruined Washington State's over, but we don't need to talk about that.
Justin Wilcott's a good coach, though. He's a good coach and got back to bowl eligibility after a rough 2020 season that kind of set him back the 8 ball. He's getting there. He's done well in bowl games, right? He's 1-1, looking to go 2-1. I don't know, man. This is a tough feeling because I love Texas Tech's offseason so far. If you've been following us on Twitter, which by the way, follow us on Twitter at the Redshirt Sophomore.
At the Redshirt
Or is it
Soft.
just at the Redshirt Soft? My apologies there. They've hit some great transfer portals and some positions of need, but at the same time, like they're losing some guys, right? Like, and it's some injuries. It's really really tough. Jordan Brown and Coy Eakin, Dre McRae, are those like can they win you this football game on the outside receivers? Obviously, I love your tight ends, right? Mason Tharp, big dude. Baylor Cup, very athletic. Sounds like you mentioned it's Taj Brooks' team, but at the same time, like Baron Morton played well at times.
He's got a lot of
He gets
snaps under his belt.
he does, and he gets a whole 3 weeks to rest up. right? Get better on the offense, practice a little bit, iron out some kinks, and then figure out from there. I don't know. I'm gonna go Texas Tech here. Not gonna feel a ton of points on it. Oof. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go Texas Tech. I'll take a -2.5 as well. And I'll take them to win.
Yeah, give me the fighting Joey Maguires. Come on. If you think a Joey Maguire football team is not going to come ready to play in a bowl game, uh, you're crazy. You're crazy. What they played Ole Miss last year in the bowl game, right? And they smoked them. Or
Them.
my, so I'm coaching in bowl games matters, right? Guys like PJ Fleck, you know, like there's certain coaches that are really good in bowl games because they manage that time between now and early signing day really well. So sometimes instead of betting on teams, you got to bet on coaches. I know he's only had one bowl game. Give me the fighting Joey Maguires in this game. I'll take the -2.5. And of course, obviously, inherently, that means I'm taking him straight up. Uh, I feel good about this. I feel better knowing that Cal's linebackers are out. Uh, I just don't think like they weren't insanely effective throwing the ball. They were a couple times, like Texas Tech was a couple times. I just thought that they really found their identity down the stretch when they were running the ball. And hearing Taj Brooks announce he was coming back for the 2024 season brings a smile to my face. Not only because I get to watch him play football for an entire another season, but that means the kid is bowling. So I'm all over. Give me the Red Raiders. Bring it home. Let's talk about the famous Toastery Bowl over there in Charlotte. Western Kentucky catching 2.5 versus Old Dominion. Western Kentucky, their roster right now is teetering on the edge of implosion. A little underwhelming year for them, of course. Malachi Corley got hurt early this year, but then he came back, and it felt like him and Austin Reed just didn't have that, connection that they're so adept at having. And I think it was a letdown year for the Hilltoppers, their fan base. I think they really thought they had a shot to win the CUSA this year with all the movement. Uh, but yeah, they lost to New Mexico State. And what they finished, fourth in the CUSA this year? Behind Jacksonville State, behind New Mexico State, behind Liberty. A little underwhelming. And on the other end of the sword, right, Old Dominion, they had an okay season, but they played in the Sun Belt, very competitive Sun Belt. They find a way to make it to a bowl game. Uh, they're not a great team. I mean, look, they lose Javon Harvey in the transfer portal. He actually just recently committed to Texas A&M. So he will not be playing in this game. I think you got a lot of weird stuff going on here. Plus, Western Kentucky's already pretty abysmal secondary. He's not going to be having Baker at quarterback, Stout at cornerback, Talika Allen is going to be out. There's a lot of pieces missing. This Western Kentucky team I know is more talented than this Old Dominion team, but they're missing a ton of pieces on that defense. And their offense has kind of struggled this year relative to what I think we thought we were getting. So I think that's why Western Kentucky's catching 2.5. Do you have a thought on this game or a lean?
You have a lean, and it's gonna be Old Dominion. I just think Western Kentucky's losing a ton. Now you're hearing some reports that like some of these guys will still play in the bowl game, even though they're in the transfer portal. But like, how does that work? How bought in can you actually be if you're 1 foot in the portal, 1 foot out? I don't love the vibes there in Western Kentucky. They had to
Plus, like
replace a
what
lot last year.
three offensive linemen? Is that what you're talking about? Like, are those guys possibly still playing in the bowl game or?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just like who knows? I don't think a lot's coming out there on who's actually can play. It's up to the coaching staff if they I mean they can technically, but it's up to the coaching staff if they'll let them. But yeah, it's tough there for Western Kentucky. You mentioned the disappointing season. Like 7-5 is fine. And you're finishing fourth
Yeah,
in the
I think that's normally
USA.
the expectation for a team like Western Kentucky. That's normally the expectation. When you have Austin Reed as your quarterback and an NFL talent like Malachi Corley, you keep them on your roster. Both of those guys that if they had entered the transfer portal last year, they would be playing Power 5 football this year. If they had entered the transfer portal last year, they would have. But they stayed and they stuck it out. No Ben Arbuckle calling plays on offense.
That's a big one there. Yeah, you kind of lost to all the teams you should have lost to, and you didn't beat any of the teams you shouldn't have beaten, if that makes sense. Right? Your 5 losses were to the 3 teams ahead of you in conference, and then Ohio State and Troy. So 2 other teams very well respected in their own conferences. But I'm gonna go with Dominion here. I think the Sun Belt is just, we talked about it earlier, they're just significantly better than a lot of other Group of 5 conferences. And I think Old Dominion's gonna come to play. I really do. I don't know how. I don't know. I just think Western Kentucky is kind of in struggles. You don't even know if Austin Reed's playing in the bowl game. I cannot find a ton of information on that.
Or
And
Malachi
the Pac,
Corley. Do we know if they're opting out? I don't know. I would assume Austin Reed plays, but Malachi Corley, I don't know how much his draft stock is going to shoot up just from this game. So,
no. And one thing you did mention is Jason Henderson for Old Dominion is
yeah,
out. Right, monster at linebacker there, a bajillion
huge.
tackles. But at the same time, like I think they're deeper than just your top receiver and then your star defensive player. Like I think they can rebound off of that if that makes sense.
Yeah, and look, Javon Harvey, like he was a really, really good receiver, but I don't think the offense benefited him like greatly. Like there were, I mean, Romello Murphy, I mean, he more yardage on more catches than, well, actually less catches. But I mean, Javon Harvey was their basically their third leading receiver this year. You knew, you just know that they can get production in the receiving game from other spots. Yeah, this is a tough game for me, but I am gonna go with Old Dominion. I'm just gonna do it. I'm with you there. I think for all the reasons that you said, I'm not even gonna repeat anything that you said. Just everything that you said rings very true. So I'm gonna ride with you. I'll take Old Dominion -2.5, and I will also take them to win straight up. So let's go Monarchs. Do us some good here. And yeah, that's not one that I feel super confident about. Because they're also missing their starting safety, I believe, who's got like over 100 tackles on the year. So I'm gonna hold off putting a ton of confidence points on Old Dominion, but I do like them better than Western Kentucky for this game.
Yeah, I do think he hit a couple big plays with Romello Murphy and Kelby Williams, both guys that averaged over 18 yards a catch. And then you run the ball effectively. You put Western Kentucky behind the 8 ball, and especially if they're down those offensive linemen and they're trying to protect, even if Austin Reed is playing, first of all, who's he throwing to? And if you can't protect him, like that's the thing with some opt outs, it's like, it doesn't really matter. That guy's kind of very replaceable, just a guy, whatever. But if you lose a lot at a certain position, you have a lot of attrition there, like it could get ugly, especially if that position is thrust into a very important spot in the game and part of the game plan, then it could be bad, for Western Kentucky there and Austin Reed. Which is part of the reason why if Austin Reed's looking at his O line group and he's like, oh, these 3 guys are all opting out. Why am I playing in this bowl game?
Yeah. Let's go to Frisco, Texas. Let's talk about the Frisco Bowl. Let's talk about Marshall playing against University of Texas San Antonio. The fighting Jeff Trailers over there. I'm gonna go ahead and say it straight up right away. Give me UTSA -12.5 and give me them to win, of course. And I'm in terms of bowl pool, right? I'll be putting a lot of confidence points on UTSA to win this bowl game. One, it's right there in Frisco. Was that 3 hours away? It's a nice, easy bus ride. Uh, Jeff Traylor's staying there, despite all the rumors that he would be A&M's next head coach, despite all the rumors that he'd be Houston's next head coach. He's still there. Marshall, Charles Huff, they had a real tough year. And I am actually pretty amazed that after they started the year pretty good, and then they kind of went in that huge slump. And credit to them for turning it around and finding a way to make the bowl game. But yeah, give me UTSA. Well, what are your thoughts? Was that too mean to Marshall fans, like to just come out like that and just say UTSA is winning? Like,
No, I really don't. it sucks for Marshall. They kind of got a brutal draw here, playing the AAC runner ups. And if you're a 6 team from the Sun Belt and you got to go play them in Texas, that is
Yeah.
not fun for you. Not
Oh,
only do you have a ton of opt outs, right? Cole Penningham, redshirt freshman, probably going to be the starter there. I don't know how much. If you're a Marshall fan, you're probably like, Camp Bench was kind of anyways. But you're missing, a very big interior guy in Trent Holler. Got some coaching changes, some injuries as well. Who knows the status of Rasheen Ali? I'm trying to pull that up right now. I don't know if he will. I assume he will, but I haven't heard anything. But someone keep an eye on an injury-prone running back like that. Sometimes doesn't always play in those bowl games.
of
But
course,
UTS,
the big one that's UTSA is missing those Trey Moore. Your
yeah,
AAC Defensive Player of the Year, highest rated edge defender in the transfer portal, yada yada yada. But this UTSA team wasn't successful this year just because of Trey Moore, right? I mean, like they had some bright spots all around. They got talent on that team. So give me Frank Harris in his last game. Are you kidding me? You're telling me that dude's not putting up 400 yards total and 8 touchdowns? You're crazy. That kid's gonna ball out.
yeah, him and Cephas too. I think Cephas, I believe he's out of eligibility. Maybe he's got one more. I don't know exactly. It's hard to tell. Regardless, though, Marshall's in for a tough one. I do. I wish I could give you a little bit better analysis than that, Marshall fans. But I think take your lumps right this offseason. Try to figure it out. I believe in Charles Huff. I think he can get it done. Um,
Yeah.
the Sun Belt's tough and it's not getting any easier, but you guys just keep buckling down.
Yeah. By the way, another point, like I know it's Thursday, so we probably would already know this by now, but is Rashid Ali is there an opt out you think potentially
It
there?
sounds like he's playing. It
Okay.
sounds like he's playing from
That's
everything
good.
I can see.
He's so talented. I'm glad that we get to watch him one more time. He's so
Well,
good.
he can make a difference in this bowl game too, for sure. He sparks out 2 long runs. All of a sudden, Marshall's right in it, and obviously giving Cole Penningham, who's, by the way, played okay down the stretch. I thought, um, at
I mean, won
times
some
for
ball
sure.
games to get him to bowl eligibility.
Yeah, as a young guy, that's all you can really do.
I mean, they beat
Yeah,
Arkansas State. Well, actually, that was Cam Fancher, but uh, in the games they did play, I agree with you. I thought he was okay too. So, I mean, he won the game against Georgia Southern. So, I mean, threw for 200 yards. But that game they won that game because of Rashid Ali. So, yeah, give me UTSA again minus 12.5 and to win straight up in the state of Texas in Frank Harris's last game and Jeff Traylor is still there. There's so many things in play for UTSA. Feed them to me now.
the path to Marshall winning this game, is it Rashid Ali and kind of him only, or is any
Well,
Cole Pennington hero game?
yeah, he could have a hero game, but if we're just looking at the most likely things for to happen for Marshall to win, it would be Rashid Ali having, 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's just what it is. And
Yeah.
the Marshall defense stepping up and finding a way to make plays. And I don't know that they've really done that a whole lot this year. In a couple games, South Alabama, it did not happen. I guess they made the plays when they needed to make them against Georgia Southern, but they still let up 33. They let up 31 to App State. I mean, they let up, they had a stretch of time when they just gave up 30 plus points almost every game. So give me the Roadrunners. Give me the Roadrunners. Look, we are Marshall and we are always Marshall, but come on, Roadrunners. Now we're going to be looking at Dawson's Diner. It's back. CD is not going to write off on these. I will. Because CD is already probably not liking one of these. The first one we're going to talk about, Louisiana plus 2.5, plus 3, plus 2.5. Obviously, get it at plus 3. I'm still okay with that. I think at 2.5. That's why I wrote it on here in case you can't get a 3. Obviously, if you can get a 3, get a 3. That's such a gigantically key number. Just grab it. All right. I didn't put this out on Twitter originally. Thought that line would still be there. Uh, hopefully it is when you guys see this on Thursday. Ohio, Georgia Southern, under 49. That line has been shooting down. I think it'll still continue to shoot down. Just get it at 49. All right. I don't know if I would still take it at 48.5. I love it at 49. I think it was at like 50 something earlier. Like I think it was at like 52 earlier this week or last week. Just get it at 49. Call it a day. These two teams, Georgia Southern, uh, they struggle against teams that have a really good pass defense, which is exactly what Ohio is. Easily top 15 pass defense. And then Ohio's playing with Parker Navarro as their quarterback. No Shea Bangura. And missing a top receiver as well. So, and Ohio has just been a wagon to unders this year. A wagon to unders. So, keep it rolling, Ohio Bobcats.
Real quick,
Thank you guys.
real quick about that is
yeah.
Why is 49 a key number?
Okay, well, for those people that are new to this or want to be new to this, 49 is a key number because it's a multiple of 7, right? Think about like combinations of numbers like 7s, 3, 4, right? Any multiples of 7, 3, and 4 are going to be pretty key, right? 14, 10, 13, 20, 21. In terms of totals, you're looking at even 48 is a key number, but 49 is more key, right? Because touchdowns, 7 times 7, 49. 52 is a key number. 55 is a key number. 56 is a key number. So when we say key numbers and crossing those key numbers, you want to get it before they cross. That's all we're saying. So, but yeah, that was your education segment for the day. We thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Redshirt Sophomore. As always, your support is greatly appreciated. Make sure if you like the content, like the video. It's a very easy rule we have here. Make sure you subscribe, right? And if you're going to subscribe, you might as well mosey your way over to the description. Click on that link. You can join the Redshirt Sophomore Bowl pool. The winner of that's going to get a chance to be on the Redshirt Sophomore podcast with your hosts, me and CD. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. But again, to qualify, in order to win that and claim your prize, you're going to have to subscribe. That's what you got to do. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Spotify, pull up your YouTube. Everyone has an email. Go subscribe. Thank you guys so much. CD, anything?
No, like you mentioned it. Thank you guys for all your support. Continue to like and subscribe to our channel. It helps our channel a ton. And we love to see the support we are getting. Keeps us motivated to do this and to with our busy schedules and whatnot. We're still enjoying giving you guys college football content. Let us know what you want us to talk about in this postseason, right? There's a lot of stuff's going on right now. We're trying to get to it all. We will. But if you want some things we can get to, let us know.
Absolutely. We'll be coming out with more head coaching changes, reviews, analysis, and of course, also the transfer portal players. And transfer portal players are key because there's a ton of them and we cannot get to all of them. So like CD said, you want to shoot us an email at theredshirtsophomore@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter at theredshirtsoph or comment on our YouTube video or answer the Q&A on Spotify. Let us know. Is there a particular player that you want to know more about or that you're worried about or that you want some I'm not gonna say insider information because a lot of the information that we have, it's not as much insider as you guys can probably get on public forums, but just know that we're here to help talk you off the cliff. All right. We're here to help you talk you off the cliff because I know it's a scary time in the transfer portal. But yes, and thank you guys so much again, and we will see you in the next one.